This is my AEW's World's End thoughts video. You've seen this before, you know the deal. I'll go through every match, give my thoughts on them, and overall give my conclusion. So let's not waste any time and jump straight in with the 0 hour for the show. Honestly, I overall thought the 0 hour for World's End was fine. There was 4 matches on the card, and not bashing any of them in a negative way, but they were just broadly fine. There was nothing wrong with them, but there was nothing worth standing out and really mentioning them, because it just felt like more like how can I put it? Just felt more like it to further TV than anything really, especially for Ring of Honor or like Collision. But yeah, there was nothing like the past couple of 0 hours for Full Gear or Wrestle Dream, where we've had the last match bleeding into the actual main show itself to really give it that raw, awesome vibe. There was nothing like that this time, so it was just broadly fine. The main show opened with the semi-finals of the Continental Classic of Konosuke Takeshita versus Kazuchika Okada. And what a way to kick off the broadcast with these two opening the show properly, because this is probably one of the top built matches, not just for the Continental Classic, but overall, as there's been tensions between these two for months. It's going far back as back at Forbidden Door, where I was, where after the Swerve match with Okada, we got a stare down with the Don Callis family featuring these two. And ever since then, it has been butting heads and just tension building and that. So when I say that I don't think this was the payoff match that these two should have to their feud, that's not to say it's a bad match. It's far from anything from bad. It's awesome, really, which I'll get into. But the payoff match to this feud, I honestly think this isn't. We've still got something in the tank for these two, especially considering how the match ends. But still, really awesome match, and the match itself, even though the wrestling is incredible, and this is a case for the whole of the C2 semi-finals and the final, the wrestling really took a back seat in this match, and it was the storytelling, as the commentary and the wrestling for the story really bled through, as it was like, right, it is very well known that Okada is the greatest tournament wrestler of all time. He's won the G1, he won the C2 last year. So he knows what to do in this case. He's got to pace himself. So the match had a slower pace, allowing Okada to get more offense in, but whilst savouring that energy for the later match that he's obviously looking to get into. And that led to him working over Takeshita for a lot of the match. But that being said, though, Takeshita was the babyface in this match, which is hard to believe considering he's the first member of the Don Callis family and has been part of it for months. So, yeah, the crowd were really firmly behind Takeshita, and there was an awesome spot of Okada going for a Rainmaker, but Takeshita reversing it into a blue Thunder Powerbomb, which looked awesome. That led to a great moment of the two trading Rainmaker attempts, and Takeshita reversing them and getting out of them. And this led to the crowd, really, like I said, really getting behind Takeshita, and the match peaking when it looks like Takeshita is going to win. except for Okada gets into the corner and rips off the turnbuckle pad covering the metal bar to find a screwdriver. Now, the live crowd didn't really like this finish. I really do. I think, like I said, these 3 matches in particular tell one big story overall, and this is a perfect beginning. As Takeshita is about to look to win, but Okada uses the screwdriver to pick up the win and cheat. And then importantly, he takes the screwdriver with him and gets rid of it under the ring. But yeah, awesome match. Don't think it's the payoff or the match that we think they're going to have down the line. I'm hoping it's going to be a match like at All In or something, or Double or Nothing, and they'll have their really classic match. But this was a really good storytelling match from both the in-ring point and the commentary, getting over everything. Following the semi-finals for the Continental Classic, we got the other one, which was Carl Fletcher versus Jon Moxley. And this match didn't waste any time in differing itself from the opener, in which it was the complete opposite of the slow pace, pacing yourself mindset of what the first match was getting over of. There is still another match. These two just went balls to the wall with it, with Fletcher playing mind games early on, trying to get into Mox's head, which led to Fletcher actually pulling out a move out of Moxley's playbook of pinning his leg in between the steel steps and the ring post and attacking it, injuring the leg, which becomes, from the rest of the match and in the finals, becomes a crucial story point of the matches. And by doing this, it's turned Mox, he was the number 1 heel in the company for almost a year. So, as champ, so to have him really be put in this babyface position, and with the leg injury, gives him real underdog vibes for me. And that mentality also carried on throughout the match, where we got a couple of really good spots. First being Kyle hitting a brainbuster onto Mox on the apron, and immediately tries to get the count-out victory. And with Mox being hit on the head, and the impact of the apron, plus the injured leg, he's only just able to make the 10 count at 9. So, very smart move, and telling that story of this is the sort of thing you've got to do in a tournament if you want to get to the next stage. Then we got a really good sequence of submissions being traded between the two, with them being reversed into other submissions. That was great. Then Mox pulled out probably one of the most brutal looking moves on the whole show, which was a cutthroat suplex off the top rope. And it's the way Fletcher lands right on his neck, looks really brutal. And with that, this kind of brings us to the finish of the match, where Fletcher goes into the same corner Okada went to retrieve the screwdriver that obviously he planted in the first place for him to use, but because where Okada's used it and took it and with him, it's not there anymore. So Fletcher, in a panic, starts to unravel. His plans are coming undone, so he starts to lose it. And that allows Mox to take advantage, hit a paradigm shift, and the Death Rider, but Kyle kicks out at both. So what Mox does is put him in a chokehold, and Kyle passes out. So there you go. In the finals of the Continental Classic, it is Jon Moxley versus Kazuchika Okada. Afterwards, we got the AEW Tag Team Championship match of FTR versus the Bang Bang Gang in a Chicago street fight. These four didn't waste any time in getting into the brawling aspect of it, as Cash and Austin brawled up the ramp and Dax and Juice brawled into the crowd. And to be honest, that's probably the most exciting part of the match, is the early stages of these four just brawling around the arena. As when they do get back to the ring, it's fine. There isn't anything terrible, but it's not anything exciting or new. It's Austin gets taken out for a long period, leaving Juice to get beaten down with weapons between both members of FTR, and that is the match for a lot of the period. And then Juice is able to escape and fight back thanks to the use of a fire extinguisher, and then has to deal with Stokely interfering, attacking the ref at one stage, and then tries to stop Juice from using the chair, to which Juice pushes him through a table. Stokely literally bounces off of the table, which was funny, but that's about it. And then that leads right into the finish of a shatter machine on Juice, which Austin saves the match, only to get hit with 3 pile drivers in a row, with the third one being on the championship for FTR to retain. So, yeah, you're still your AEW Tag Team Champions, FTR, but it was a bit of an underwhelming match, I really thought. And it's the only negative I'd say on the whole show, because the rest of the show I really enjoyed. And it's not a bad thing, it's just, is that it? Afterwards, we got the other AEW Tag Team match, or a Tag Team Championship match of the AEW Women's Tag Team Championships of the Babes of Wrath versus Mercedes, Moné, and Athena. And out of the 2 Tag Team Championship matches, this is the one I preferred. Nothing, I wouldn't say like anything, again, like outstanding, but there was just a bit more in the match than what we got in the men's tag team match. And it was just a lot of fun, because it had a lot more spots in it and like moments that were enjoyable and memorable for me. As we got the big spot of like everyone wiping out each other on the outside, then we got Athena and Willow going at it, which was really good. And then we got also a Tower of Doom spot from everyone, with Harley coming out on top. And that's the thing, it's just those little moments that make the match more memorable and more enjoyable, because you can think about it after the fact. So yeah, that was fun. Then we got, it led to some miscommunication from the challengers, which led to them actually working together with an assisted powerbomb suplex on Willow off the top turnbuckle, which was awesome. And then the finish came when Willow was able to roll up Mercedes for the roll-up pinfall to retain the AEW Women's Tag Team Championships. So your winners are the Babes of Wrath. But that's just what it needed, you know. It didn't need to be like a 5-star match, but it just needed a few memorable moments to have an enjoyable time. And that's what it was for me. Then we got the match of Gabe Kidd versus Darby Allin. And as this feud between Darby and the Death Riders continues, this is the 4th straight pay-per-view where Darby has faced a member of the Death Riders. Obviously, All Out, it was him versus Mox. Wrestle Dream, it was also him versus Mox. And at last pay-per-view, Full Gear, it was him versus Pac. So this is the fourth straight pay-per-view where he's gone up against somebody in the Death Riders. So, yeah, it's a bit like, okay, are we getting to the conclusion yet? Because he's beaten Mox. But, like, that's not me, like, souring on this match. This match was a real hard-hitting match, and it was really good. Because, obviously, Gabe Kidd loves to, like, dish out punishment, and as everyone knows, Darby is a sucker for taking punishment, loves to put his body on the line, which is not what he should be doing. And this match didn't disappoint, as there's the two main spots are the ones where Darby puts his body through hell, in which Gabe launches him right over the barricade into the timekeeper's area with a real launch, and the velocity that Darby goes over, only to be upstaged when they get the steel steps, and Gabe literally slingshots Darby headfirst into the steel steps whilst being underneath them, so the top just completely bounces off and breaks. And this leads to it becoming a bit more even afterwards, with both men bleeding a lot, especially Gabe. Gabe looked really cool with the blood. Gladly, it wasn't as bad as Samoa Joe at Full Gear, thank God. But yeah, it was still good. And then this led to really the crux of the match, and led to the finish working in quite well, perfectly with it, as neither men want to give up. They don't want to give up. They will not give up. But they're putting their bodies through so much torture and punishment that one of them will give up, and that leads to the finish where Gabe goes for a sleeper hold on Darby, and Darby rolls through and turns it into a roll-up pin and gets the win. So, yeah, neither of them gave up, but Darby was able to outsmart Gabe and beat him in what was a fun, brutal match. Next, we got the Death Riders versus Timeless Tony Storm, Roderick Strong, Orange Cassidy, and Mark Briscoe in a mixed nuts mayhem match. And this 8-person match was the right thing at this stage, because at this stage, this is the fourth to last match on the show, and the next 3 matches are all 3 big matches. So this is just the right breather match you need before you get into the run of big matches. And this, I can't do this match justice. It's worth definitely checking it out. But it's a fun breather match with no weapon spots in a multi-man match, including the Death Riders. But it was just moment after moment after moment. Now, I can't recap all of them, because we'd be here like for ages, but here's just a few that stood out to me. We first then got Maria Shafir and Orange Cassidy going at it, with both having their hands in their pockets doing kicks. Then we got Tony Storm and Orange Cassidy dancing together whilst battling the Death Riders, which got a great response from the crowd. We then got Claudio getting slapped by Tony, only to hit her with a swing, which again was great. And then, you know, we then got the big one for me. Obviously, many would probably say the Tony Orange Cassidy dancing together spot was probably the best part of the match. But for me, there was one spot that I knew they were going to do, and I was just waiting for it, which was Roderick Strong and Maria Shafir coming to face. husband and wife, and they go at it. Not for long, but they do throw a couple of punches at each other, which got a big reaction from the crowd because everyone knows and that. And this kind of just led to the finish where Mark Briscoe hits the J Driller on Wheeler Yuta for the win. So yeah, not, like I said, this might not sound like I've really covered the match much, but it was just more or less, here's a couple of fun moments and enjoy yourself before we get into the main events, which from this point on are great. Then we got the AEW Women's Championship match of Chris Statlander versus Jamie Hayter. This was a real solid match between these two, and two great women that have really rose through the ranks in AEW throughout the years. And this was a real even match, down to the fact that it was, the whole thing was neither of them could get the upper hand for a lot of the match, and it was just evenly paced, and the two knew what the other was going to throw at them. And that led to the crowd being also split 50-50, with half of them chanting for the champ, Statlander, and the others chanting for Jamie Hayter. And that told a great story, the fact that here's these two women, and they're evenly matched and evenly know what they're going to do. But neither of them can get the upper hand, so they've got to outsmart each other, and that led to a fun couple of spots and that throughout the match, but at the most part it was a slow-paced match, and that worked for it, because you don't want every match to be the same. And that, like I said, I know you mentioned about the Continental Classic, but that's different. That's something I'll get into in the next match. But with this, it was fine. It worked. They didn't need to go over the top like Darby and Gabe. As long as you have a good story and you've got two really good workers like these two, you can put on a really good match. And they did. We did get a couple of big spots, which were great. Jamie was able to hit a drop kick off the announce table onto Statlander, allowing her to gain advantage for a little bit, only then to be hit with a top rope package suplex by Statlander, which looked rough and that. But then this led to kind of the finishing angle, it was kind of the finishing sequence where we got Statlander baiting in Jamie by getting her to go in for the lariat, but only for Jamie to reverse it and get the upper hand. And this led to it looking like Jamie was going to win, after Statlander was able to kick out and Jamie had her set up for the win and got her up on the shoulders, only for Statlander to counter whatever Jamie was going for and hit a tombstone for the win. So Statlander has once again retained her women's championship and keeps proving she can go and be at the top of the women's division. And I really hope these two get another chance to put on a match like this, because it was really good. Very much enjoyable. In our penultimate match of the evening, we got the Continental Classic final of Jon Moxley versus Kazuchika Okada. And for me, this was a perfect conclusion to the night's Continental Classic, and is why for me, the best thing on this whole show is these three matches, because, like I said earlier, the story is just one continuous story, and it is told brilliantly. As going into this match, like I said, Okada played a slower paced match in his match, allowing him to conserve that energy that he needs for this match, whereas Mox, that obviously he didn't count on getting injured, but where he got injured, he had to use more energy to beat Kyle to get here. So you've got one guy that is a lot fresher than the other, and the lesser fresher guy is injured, which is a perfect target, and it led to a great story of Okada is probably going to win this, but Mox is unwilling to give up and will fight through the pain, and that led again to the match being a slower pace match because Okada is using his slow pace, hard hitting moves, targeting the injured knee or leg of Mox from the most part. And that is, again, it's told in the story with the commentary. Like I said, these three matches, it's not about the wrestling, it's about the storytelling of what they tell in the ring and with commentary in a match made in heaven for me. And that. So with the injured knee, it's crucial that, and again, like I said, with the slower pace, Okada isn't using much energy. He can hit a move and catch his breath and rest. Mox has got to use more energy and put himself through a lot more to fight back through the pain, not only through the pain, but to get back and in control of the match from Okada. And this led to some great moments throughout the match of Mox fighting through the pain. And again, who knew Mox was going to end the year as a babyface underdog in the Continental Classic? But he does, and he fights through it and ends up winning the match in a shocking turn of events. He dethrones Kazuchika Okada as he wins Continental Classic and wins the Continental Championship. And this to me is a perfect payoff to Mox's downward spiral that he's been on since All In Texas, where he lost the world title, and he's been losing several big matches or having to have help to win said matches since then. So he's already at the bottom of the barrel and has to claw his way up to get to the top again. And that's exactly what he's done here in the Continental Classic. He's had to start from the bottom on 0 points, like everyone else, and has to fight and claw his way up to get in here to the semi-final. And then it looks like it's all over for him with the injured leg, thanks to Fletcher, only to fight through that pain, just barely make it into the final, and then have to overcome the greatest tournament wrestler of all time, Kazuchika Okada, and he dethrones him. It's a perfect payoff in my mind, and I think this is a great use of Mox, and is why the Continental Classic, the C2, is easily becoming one of the best things in AEW, and is one of the reasons why it's always great to watch AEW in this latter half of the year. Because it's almost like WWE with the Royal Rumble. Everyone checks out the Rumble because everyone loves the Rumble. This is AEW's equivalent of the Royal Rumble time of year. You always want to check out the C2. Incredible match. Incredible matches, and just perfect payoff. Best thing on the card for me. And with that brings us to our main event of the evening of Samoa Joe versus Hangman Adam Page versus Swerve Strickland versus MJF for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Before I get into the match itself, I do want to mention two of the entrances that we got for this match. Of them being Swerve Strickland coming out with a Green Lantern-esque entrance, which was awesome, and I really digged it. And it plays off of his Mr. Terrific entrance that we got at Forbidden Door earlier in the year. The other is MJF's, who comes out third before Samoa Joe, obviously being the last one as his world champion. But Max gets the whole big entrance. He gets fire pyro, he gets ladies with him as he comes out, and gets his massive banner. In one word, over the top, but could you also foreshadow the fact that he's winning the world title any more than that? It's quite obvious to everyone that he's winning, I personally think. That's not a bad thing, but it's just like, oh, he's winning this match. Before the match even started, that's what came into my mind. But the match itself, great. What do you expect from the top 4 guys in the company right now? Swerve Strickland, awesome. It's my favourite wrestler in AEW. Hangman, the main character of AEW. After what happened, how Full Gear ended, really should be the champion, personally. Samoa Joe is always awesome. It's Samoa Joe. And Max is always fantastic. And this match gave you what you wanted from them. We got all the combinations that you'd want to see. We got old rivalries renewed in the fact that we got to see Samoa Joe and MJF going at it for a little bit during the spot of them both having dual submissions on, and Max lets go to stop Joe from winning. And then the obvious one, which is Adam Page and Swerve Strickland. And they go at it. And the crowd erupts with cheers to see these two go at it. And it's awesome. And that's the thing about this match. It's a fatal 4-way. You can just have chaotic, fun moments. And that's what this match was. That kind of might sound like I'm jumping forward, but it leads to almost like the final act of the match, where the ops of Powerhouse Hobb, Shibata, and Hook come down, attack the 3, and Hook throws Page in the ring to Joe, and it all looks like Joe's going to win and retain, but when Hobbs and Shibata go for Prince Nana, Swerve hits a top rope double stomp onto him on the outside, and then follows that up with a top rope stomp onto Samoa Joe, who's got Hangman in the cookie in a clutch for a great spot. And this then leads Page to get catches the attention of Hook. But before all of that, this is how it comes to the finish Max pushes Swerve out the ring as Swerve looks to win. This leads to Hangman lining up the buckshot lariat on Samoa Joe, only for Max to push Joe out the way, hit a low blow on Page, laying him out, and then hitting a heat seeker on Samoa Joe to win the match. Your new AEW World Heavyweight Champion, MJF. Fantastic match. Loved it. It was a great fun main event, and it really gave that vibe as well. Having those 4 in the match, it was a great fun time. In conclusion, AEW World's End was a great way to close out 2025 with the semi-finals and the final of the Continental Classic living up to expectations and delivering a perfect payoff in my mind, tying in with Jon Moxley's downward spiral and then redemption arc by the looks of it, as he looks to be turning babyface potentially. So that'll be interesting to see where it goes in the new year. We've also had there was nothing negative really on the show. The only downer for me a little bit was the FTR Bang Bang match, which was just underwhelming for me. Not bad, just underwhelming. So yeah, we've got a lot to look forward to in 2026 for AEW, but most of all, and most probably important if you ask him, MJF is your new AEW World Heavyweight Champion, and it's going to be interesting to see what's in store for us in 2026. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you soon. Bye.